Hello and welcome. It's August 6th, 2025. Sorry, just getting rid of an echo in the room. This meeting is being recorded and I am opening it at 6:30 p.m. All members are in attendance. So let's get started. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'd like to open asking for any citizen statements and petitions, either in person or online. And seeing as there's none, we're going to skip over number 3, which is a public hearing that starts at 6:45. And we're going to jump down to number 4, which is community events and announcements. So we have 2 upcoming community events. The first one is the 2nd annual Scarecrow Contest. You can sign up by emailing the Cultural Council at mendonma.gov. So that's Cultural Council at mendonma.gov. And that is going from September 1st through the 27th. And how that will work is once you sign up by emailing in September, you will display your scarecrow from October 1st through the 31st. And, because that's Halloween. And the winner will be announced on October 27th, so before the Fright Night. So that's coming up in September. We had a great showing last year by departments and by private citizens, so it'd be lovely to see that again. Looking forward to it. And the second, did you have anything to add on that?
No, there's just 3 events you guys.
Oh, I didn't scroll down. And so the second event is the townwide scavenger hunt, which is September 21st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's rain or shine. And more information can be found on the Cultural Council website, which is on the town website. And they're going to be starting at the Henry Clough school parking lot right up on North Ave. And then the final event is the Rock the Block event from 2 to 9 p.m. at Memorial Park on September 6th. So this is where you get the food and the bands and the kids events, and the community comes together and celebrates Mendon. It's a pretty awesome event. Please come out.
So my thing to add on this is supported largely, almost entirely through community donations. So we have a few presenting sponsors and whatnot, but through the town's online payment portal, we have a donations tab where folks, if they want to become a sponsor in one way or another, or just a contributing member, can. And then over the course of the next few weeks before September 6th, we'll have, this is kind of on the administrative side, but we'll have reports to the select board to accept the donations from members of the public to then be able to expend those to put on the event. So this is a community focused and a community sponsored and driven event.
John, do you have something to add?
Yes, I do. If I may, there is one more event that will be coming up.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are in cooperation with police and fire. The highway department we're putting on another public safety day, which would be September 13th with a rain date of the 14th. And that would be at Clough School from 11 to 3. We're going to have a lot more demonstrations this year, where our plan is to have Lifelike come in and land. We're doing a live wire trailer from National Grid, some canine demonstrations, as well as a lot of different equipment from both Mendon and other towns around us, as well as the state, that will be on display. And we will also have food trucks there.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Is that when the golf ball drop is happening again?
Yep, that will also be with the, I believe that's the Mendon Lions golf ball drop will be at the same time.
Awesome. That's going to be a great event. So like super touch a truck with some food.
Yeah.
Great. We'll get that on the calendar. Thank you.
Yeah.
And stay on the line here, John, because we're going to jump to number 9, which is the 1-day liquor license application for the Brothers of the Brush.
Okay.
So So this is for the 1-day license for Rock the Block so that they can bring in a trailer. I don't know the company name, but I think Jeremy can fill us in on.
Yeah, for sure. So this is a 1-day liquor license application. They've submitted their application, their insurance information. All members who are going to work it will be tip certified, members of the organization and their family members. When you get a 1-day liquor license, you need to use a pre-approved list of distributors to be able to, you can't just run to the corner package store and get some cases and sell it. So the brothers use Atlas Distribution, which in this case brings in a trailer, fully kitted out. And then the brothers staff it and hold the liquor license, the insurance, and the tip certification. And then when they're done, the trailer kind of drives away and takes all the excess sort of thing. So this is the proceeds go to the brothers, right? This is not a town-sponsored event. So it's not, there's no recouping of costs, or it's not a business enterprise for the town. And then the brothers use those proceeds, to pour back into community events in the town, just like a number of their fundraisers. So the application says 12 to 12. The event, like we see, is 2 to 9. Last year they did 12 to 11 as serving. 2 to 11 as serving. So they're open kind of to truncating what the hours would be. They were trying to be expansive based on what the event may or may not be. But their plan, John, step in, but their plan is to stop serving before 12 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so there was some discussion within the brothers, and they hadn't determined a time exactly that they were going to start serving. I would venture to guess it's going to be 2 or 3 o'clock, but without knowing that definite time, I just put 12 o'clock as the start time. Doesn't mean we're going to serve then, and I put midnight, but I believe the president wants to be done serving by 10 o'clock that night.
So the event's listed publicly at 2 to 9. So my suggestion would be to have the pouring be 2 to 10 at the latest, rather than at 12 to 12.
Yeah, so I think the fireworks go off at 9. And I think that's why we were thinking 10 o'clock. That gives it, we get a half hour of fireworks and then we get everybody to clear out.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I just think if that logic would be similar to, wouldn't you want a time when you're actually not pouring as people clear out? Rather than extending your pouring time? I have no problem.
I mean, our plan is to shut it off once the fireworks are done.
Yeah.
So
I just
probably looking for a motion that's 2 to 9.
If we say 2 to 9 and the fireworks end up going off late, then we can't serve during the fireworks.
Correct.
That's why I was kind of thinking 10 o'clock. And I think that was the president of the brothers thinking too.
I think we should post the event from 2 to 10.
Yeah, I agree. Like the hours of the event should match the serving hours. So if the event's really not ending at 9, which is if they're doing fireworks at 9 and the event's not ending at 9, then we should probably have those hours changed, because public safety has to accommodate for being there for the opening hours. Like it's more
Right. So
logistical than just this.
we're flexible with whatever date, whatever time coincides with Rock the Block.
Yeah, so then I would just be looking for a motion that has language that matches it to the opening and closing times of the event itself, and we'll adjust the event. That would be what I would do.
I make a motion that we issue the liquor license for the hours 2 to 9:30.
We have to be descriptive of the hours now, or can we?
Don't know that answer.
So issuing a license, the license has hours associated with it.
So would we be able to say hours to match Rock the Block, or you have to say?
But
You have to say
my point would be that, like Mike Maroli just said, if it's 9:30 that we have the license to, it doesn't mean we're serving till 9:30. If this event ends at 9, then we're done at 9, not 9:30.
So does 9:30 give you sufficient time?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna advertise, we're gonna just advertise with the event. The liquor license is just is covering what we can do, but we're gonna be done once the fireworks are done. We're
I'll
going with
second.
the event.
Let's go 2 to 10, but I just want to make sure public safety is fully aware of the hours, the potential hours. You know what I mean?
So there's a second on the floor, so you'd have to amend and second.
So I appreciate and agree with your initial point that you want to have time between when your anticipated event ends and then when your pouring ends. You don't want to be pouring people beers as they're walking out of the event. So if my opinion is that a 9:30 end with anticipated event end at 10 o'clock, it makes sense from a public safety perspective.
Right. Well, we then should make sure the event end is 10 o'clock, not 9 o'clock, if everybody's on the same page. I'm just trying to avoid
Yep.
confusion. I sit here confused.
I agree. Well, all right, well then, I will consider that our discussion unless anybody has any more. Thank you for eating up the rest of our time. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right, motion passes for 2 to 9:30. Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, and there's no motion on this, but we're going to jump to number 7, and there are meeting minutes for circulation appended to the end of your packet. Are you making that face because we forgot to do an approval?
No, I thought you said there's no motion, so I didn't put a motion, but I was like, no, I put a motion.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
So, but number 6 has a motion because I didn't scroll backwards. And meeting minutes from July 2nd, 2025, I'd be looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? And that motion passes. And so I'm going to slowly scroll up. So at 6:45, which is in 2 minutes, we have a public hearing, which will probably be continued. They still have 2 minutes.
So 5, excuse me, 5A, B, and C, the police chief not here, so I'm going to talk about those.
Okay. You want to do it now?
Sure. So 5, under appointments. So we have 5A, B, and C. We have what's called a police matron and then 2 cadets. I asked the police chief what in the world a police matron is. So it's in MGL as the term. So that's why we use it in the appointing language. Effectively, it's a cell attendant specific to female detainees. So when we have a female detainee in our cells, the person who attends it has to be a female, and the term that the Mass General Laws uses is matron, and that's what the I don't know who the inspecting authority is. I don't know if it's DOC or somebody else, but they use the term matron in their checklist, like who is your police matron that is on staff or what. So that's why we use it in the terminology here. So we have Shayna Kozlowski as a police matron, and then this is just paid. This is a rate that's been established for the police chief said he wasn't quite sure when the last time it was changed. This is the rate in recent memory. It is an infrequent occurrence that we have somebody long enough that requires a cell attendant. And then the cadets, Jace Lindsay and Adam Jones. I had also asked about the rate for these folks because that rate seemed to not jive with some other rates in town. And the only time they get paid that rate is when they function as a cell attendant. So it keys off of that matron and cell attendant rate. And in the 2-ish years that we've had police cadets in the Mendon Police Department, we have not paid a single one. They have not functioned as cell attendants. They are trained to do so, but we have not had the need to do so. So they function essentially as unpaid interns, do ride-alongs, do office work, kind of help around the department. But they are appointed at a rate of $25 an hour in the instance where they function as cell attendants. But that in their day-to-day and what they do as a cadet in the police department, it's an unpaid position.
We're going to put a pause there for a second so we can do a continuation of the public meeting at 6:45 p.m. for PJs at Miss Mendon Diner until our next meeting on August 20th, when hopefully they'll be in attendance. So please continue.
I just wanted to make that point about the hourly rate because we had a discussion on fire department on-call rates, fire department recruit firefighters, and I want to make sure the board was comfortable that these folks who function as interns are not making more than fire department on-call folks.
The motion doesn't need to reflect that. I mean, because the motion sort of makes it sound like they're being paid $25 an hour.
It's a part-time rate, right? So that, in other words, when they function that way, they get paid that way.
So when they function as in the cell attendant, so when they function in a paid capacity, they get paid at the $25 rate. In the, like I said,
Well, but the only time they function in paid capacity is when they're actually selling it.
correct.
So doing desk duty and all of that is not functional.
Right, when they're
correct.
actually attending prison.
Correct. So if you'd like to say at a cell attendant rate of $25 an hour, I think the motion would be more clear in that way.
I mean, that's what I was wondering, just because it seems a little fuzzy. And I don't know, there also are no dates. Are there, like,
Yeah, I'm not sure the effective date, so we can say effective date starting the following Monday. Neither of them are currently working. So
So just to build on what Elaine is asking, what you're effectively asking is you're asking us to appoint Jana Pliskowski, Jace Lindsay, and Adam Jones as paid cell attendants and or matrons at $25 per hour.
So yeah, Shana is specific to the cell attendant, specific to the police matron route. The cadets, as the program was established, they do ride-alongs. They do.
Well, what I would prefer to do is make a motion to appoint the three of them as cell attendants at $25 an hour. And then we could do a second motion to reappoint the other two as cadets. But they were only going to get
Without
paid the functioning as a cell attendant. And I think that maybe clear up the confusion that you might think there is to suggest that they get paid $25 an hour for every hour they work as a.
well, do the cadets need to be reappointed as cadets in general, or is this appointment
Insurance.
specifically about
Yes.
the cell
Insurance.
attendants? So they do need to be reappointed, period, whether,
Because they were appointed as a one-year term.
okay.
So they're being reappointed for a one-year term as a, because that covers them for insurance purposes. That's
I
my
see.
previous experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I confess I didn't realize it was a reappointment. I thought these were both new folks. So you're right. We do need a separate motion for the reappointment. But if there's not a rate associated with it, having bifurcating those motions, I think makes it clearer to
Yes.
minute readers afterwards what happened.
And I'm pretty sure if we appoint them as cell attendants, the female is automatically defined as a matron.
Yeah, well, yeah, only a female can hold that role.
Right. So I guess the motion I'm making, I'd like to move to appoint Shane Pliskowski, Jace Lindsay, and Adam Jones as cell attendants at a rate of $25.
Second.
Discussion? Kind of inverted that. All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Motion passes. And your second motion?
I make a second motion to reappoint Adam Jones and Jace Lindsay as police cadets for the Mendon Police Department for an additional one-year term.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Motion passes. All right.
Read Terrence Moore.
Yes.
So we have the Conservation Commission. I said this before the meeting started. So on the recorded line. So we have 3 candidates for 2 openings on the Conservation Commission. And we, this is on both Katie and I did not give them adequate heads up to come tonight. So Elizabeth Crocker, the other candidate, and Peter Coffin. So Elizabeth Coffin will be available next week or next meeting, and Peter Coffin will be available later this evening. So the Conservation Commission interviewed these folks for their openings and sent their recommendation to the select board. They recommended reappointing Peter Coffin to fill one of the vacancies. And then they wrote write-ups, which are in your packet, on the other candidates, Terrence Moore and Elizabeth Crocker. And so Terrence has joined us tonight to be able to speak with the select board. And it was ultimately up to the select board which 2 of these 3 candidates to appoint to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term. I don't have
It's a 3-year term.
that for me. Thank you.
And so we won't do any motions to appoint tonight. We'll save that for the next meeting.
But wanted to give the board, because you're the ultimate appointing authority, and there was not a one-to-one recommendation from the Conservation Commission, wanted to give the board the opportunity to speak with Mr. Moore, candidate for the position. And then anything the board want to ask about either the background, the Conservation Commission write-up, or anything else about the role. So Mr. Moore, can you join us?
Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Join us.
My name is Terrence Moore. Most people call me Terry, and please do. It's a little easier that way. I'm a relatively new resident to Mendon. My wife and I moved from New Jersey to Mendon in late December of last year to be a little closer to 2 very small grandchildren and our daughter and her husband. My professional background has been predominantly in public service. I served for 20 years as the executive director of the New Jersey Pinelands Commission. I was appointed to that role by then Governor Brendan Byrne. That agency controls land use and environmental regulations in 22% of the state of New Jersey in the south. It's a very important area. It's designated a national reserve by Congress in 1979. After my 20 years there, I joined the National Park Service in 1999 and in the role as Chief of Planning and Compliance for the Northeast region. So I'm relatively familiar of areas outside of New Jersey that go from Maine to Virginia. And I was actually the manager with our staff of the Blackstone National Historical Park study for the National Park Service. So I am familiar with the Blackstone and many of those. I'd like to just say, and I was asked by the commission why I would like to serve as a new resident here. I have been precluded from serving on local boards and commissions because of my position in the state of New Jersey, and I was in charge of regulating certain land uses within the community in which I lived. So that was not able to be done. With the National Park Service, I had a rather rigorous travel schedule, and really would have been unfair to offer services that I couldn't fulfill at my local level. But now that we're here, and now that I'm retired, and now that all I really can do is mow the lawn and fix things in my 1820s era house, I'd like to offer those services and join with the other members of the Conservation Commission
Welcome to Mendon.
here in town. Well, thank you very much. I have a wide background in wetlands regulation and administration and development review of projects. So I hope it would be an easy transition if you choose to appoint me to that commission in terms of being on the ground and ready to go. But if you have questions, I'd be happy to respond to them.
Yeah, board, do you have anything to add?
I'm wondering, so you were involved in the Blackstone Heritage Corridor?
I was the manager of the study as the chief of planning for the Northeast region of the National Park Service. Ellen Carlson actually was the on-the-ground person here. She lives in Cape Cod, but she's with the Boston office. So,
Have you been attending or catching up on conservation meetings? Are you aware of some of the local issues that they're dealing with?
yes, and it's I had mentioned to Carl.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah, speak of the devil. The issues are often the same. The question is whether it's a state regulation, a local regulation. And the real question, I think, is not so much approaching a regulatory situation in a regulatory manner. I have a philosophy about my land use regulation. One is that I'm always sworn in reality to diligently and fairly implement regulations that have been adopted by someone or a legislature or whomever else. But I think the other role of a regulator, and the most important one, is to try to assist applicants to meet the regulation, not simply to sit there and say no or go away, you're not going to make it this time. I think often in those conversations with applicants, you have the ability to move them maybe 20 feet or downsize a little bit on the building so that they are in a position to meet the regulation. I'd rather say yes to someone than no to someone. And that's been the way I've approached my regulatory career in the past. So,
Balanced approach.
Yeah.
I like some of that.
So if there's not any additional comments, I wish we could do more tonight and offer you more answers on your future, but we have to fairly get other individuals in here to talk to us. But that is an impressive resume. We're really happy to have you in town, regardless of how the board position goes. So thank you.
I just have one question, only because I only have one question for these types of things. I think I already know the answer, but to be fair, I'm going to ask other people. Would you or your family or have any business coming before the commission?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any business coming before the commission?
No, the only thing, and I had mentioned it to the commission when I was interviewing with them, my daughter is employed by the trustees for reservations, which is a property owner in town. She's not in a decision making, she's a marketing person for the trustees. And just in terms of putting things on the table, I would certainly abstain from that. Carl said I can call somebody in Boston who will give me guidance, but my position has always been I don't really care what the guidance is. If there's even an appearance, I would probably step back for anything.
Thank you.
Can I ask, is there an option with the conservation, the Concom, to put an alternate?
Carl,
I know it's not on in the bylaws that establish. I wondered if there's.
That there was not.
Yeah, our bylaws don't comment to it. So the way our bylaws work, that means there's.
Yeah, Carl, go ahead.
Membership on the Concom is set by the state state law, not by the town. The way it's structured is the same as the planning board. A town can choose whether it has a Concom or a planning board or not. But if they do so, they are forced to abide by the state regulations. And there's no language for an alternate for Concom.
Elena, did you have something to add?
I did. So thank you for joining us, and your background sounds very impressive. And I think you have a lot to offer to the town. So this is a question that we often ask people. In the event that we are not able to offer you this position on this board, are there other boards and committees that you would consider applying to?
Well, I think my background is more suited to this particularly. I have I live in this 1820s little building around the corner on Elm Street. And I had to go before the Historic District Commission to do a fence for my dog. And I do have an interest in history, but that's not my major background of all. I'm not all that familiar with the others, to tell you the truth.
All right, great, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for your time tonight. We'll be in touch.
Welcome to town.
So Peter, I see you. Why don't you come on up? So we continued the hearing that was at 6:45. What are we waiting for, sir?
Just
From our
that.
perspective.
So no longer waiting. So we've got 2 of the 3 prospective Conservation Commission members tonight. So there won't be a motion from the board until we get to hear from Ms. Crocker. But certainly hear from Mr. Coffin about his interesting role in Conservation Commission.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Go.
I've been on the Concom for probably too long, so.
So tell us why you're still on the Concom. I guess that's probably like, why do you want to continue doing the work you've been doing? Why is it important to you?
Well, with a candidate such as that, I would not feel so bad stepping back. Also because with our new clerk, he's doing a great job.
Yes, he
So I felt that I had to be there in the last few years, and I don't have that feeling anymore. So I am feeling better about it. And we've had a great chair, so we're in a good position. So I wouldn't feel remiss if you wanted to bring in some fresh blood. It's a good.
I'm pretty sure the town has been hearing your opinion strongly for many years. And if you wanted to continue that, we would put you up there with the rest of the pack. I think that these committees are about your experience, but also about your voice for the community. So, I mean, I wouldn't want you to just step back because you think you're not qualified. I think your qualification is your membership in the community. And then beyond that, it's your willingness to serve.
Well, and many years of experience on the commission. How many years has it been?
Probably close to 30. The thing is, I'm very qualified for this position. I'm a land use planner. I'm a surveyor.
Yes,
There you go.
very
I know the
qualified,
community.
yeah.
But, yeah. There. I'm not sure if I can say anything more.
Very impressive how much time you've given to this community. So
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Although I know we don't take on alternate members, but this man sitting behind me would be an ideal help to the land use committee. So doesn't have to, I don't know, right now it comes from, I'm the rep from the Concom, but it should be broader than that, and to have such skills go not taken advantage of.
Right.
I'm not
Yes,
sure.
definitely. I mean, I think, well, any member of the community is, of course, welcome to join those meetings. As you know, I think we should probably, sometimes we can extend that personal invitation. I'm sure there are others on the land use committee who would be happy to meet the new community
Well, that's the thing.
members.
I'm a great believer, you don't necessarily have to vote, right? If you come and you can engage
Exactly.
in the discussion,
Right.
right? So but-
Inform and help, share opinions, right? All of the community is welcome to share opinions and offer suggestions. And so, I think it's a good point that sometimes maybe we just need to directly invite people to come and contribute in that way.
I think maybe part of the revitalization discussion, which is, I think, on the
We're getting
agenda.
there. We're getting there.
We might also look at the size and shape of these committees, so where we could add alternates and possibly
Right.
build bench strength. We take
It's
this
true.
opportunity.
Right, land use committee does have an alternate. That one's in the bylaws, and that's just Mendon deciding that, I believe.
Yeah,
But
so where we can, I just think that's an opportunity. So
It
we
is.
have talented individuals willing to give their time.
right,
We should try to find them a home.
Yes, I agree.
All right, well, it's pretty rare that a candidate comes up and promos another candidate. See, we appreciate your candor and we always appreciate your service. There's nothing more we can do tonight, but next meeting, we'll make our decision when we've heard from the final candidate. And Carl's got his hand up behind you there.
I'd like to say verbally what I wrote in my
Yeah, please.
email, and also what the motion, the Concom made a motion to say that we recommended Peter and then would leave to the select board a decision between the other two candidates. So he did get a boost from us.
Okay.
That way.
Just a question for the chair. If you,
Carl, can I bother you to come up to the
yeah,
microphone?
so from a committee perspective, do you have a sense of what the committee is looking for, skill set need in terms of what the committee might be lacking that you might be looking for, or all things being equal, it's purely, what are you looking for?
Well, with Tim Accardi deciding not to be back, that would have been a major blow before we hired Isabella as our current conservation agent. What's happened is the same thing that's happened with the FinCom. Now that the town is hiring professional staff who have college degrees and have had continuing education and the ability to spend time reaching out to their counterparts in peer communities, we used to have nobody, we were all volunteers. So Peter and Tim Accardi, Damon Tinio, Micah Mandalia, they were builders. They knew how and where applicants might be cutting corners. They could question them very thoroughly about, is your stormwater management correct? So now that we have a professional staff who is able to do that kind of work, now that we have the infrastructure where Isabella can do a peer review, where the applicant gives money up and we go and hire an outside engineer who evaluates stormwater and their other conservation issue requirements. Previously, we didn't do much of it because as volunteers, we didn't have time to contract out, engage, review their work and forward it. So in that sense, it is less of a concern that we have people who have strong backgrounds in these areas, given that we currently have a good mix of people who are in favor of development and in people on the board who are in favor of conservation and land use. I sort of personally fall on the preservation and land use. That's why I work closely on conservation restrictions and whatnot. So my opinion is that yes, Peter would be a valuable resource because there's a lot of times where we have a matter come before us and Mike and Peter will go, oh yeah, this is that particular property. And I remember how 15 years ago it came before us, or their neighbor did something that impacted this property. So there is a lot of historical institutional memory that Peter exhibits for us. On the other hand, Leah and Bob, our newest members, they also have been members of the community and they are looking at it from more, Leah in particular is a botanist, she's a farmer, and she is able to provide expertise in how, what invasive species are, what the new technologies are coming in. For example, instead of having a siltation fence made out of vinyl plastic and a sock that has nylon wrapping, there's now biodegradable nettings. We're looking into strongly encouraging people that when they're proposing their conservation, the borders, am I missing the word here? It's just out of my head.
I would just call it
erosion control. Erosion control. That's the word. Erosion control. So in the letter that I wrote, I outlined what the specific talents and expertise were of the three applicants. So his background in federal and state, local. And in the letter I wrote, I spoke briefly on the background of the third applicant, and you can speak more with her about that. Her expert.
Sounds like the commission today has a nice balance.
Yes, we do.
You're not really, you don't have a gaping hole of
No.
the institutional knowledge or some sense of preservation.
Yeah.
You're comfortable that it's solid.
Yes.
It can go squarely on the.
Yep.
So individuals are bringing forward.
I'd be tempted to amend that just briefly. Maybe we were so at more pro-developers in the past. I wouldn't say we're balanced. We're probably gone too far the other way, but that's not really a big thing. But it's just the other more important to my mind is the new candidates, they're getting trained. And so that's taking a while, and that's great. But you got to be able to read a plan. And that's kind of hard to learn. So just those are skills that are essential.
Yes, MACC, the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners, has a fundamentals class. And I've informed all three of the candidates, well, the other two, that there is training money. And if they get appointed, we strongly encourage them to save the dates and attend these seminars and workshops. One of them, in fact, is how do you read a site plan? The third person's strength is that they have worked for a land trust. Metacomet is the land trust that Mendon usually works with. They're working for a land trust in another part of the state. And so that's the expertise that they would be able to bring in. They would be very strongly able to work with Metacomet because they know intimately what Metacomet's concerns are.
Thank you.
This is fantastic. It's like the embarrassment of riches, right?
Yeah, I was surprised. Pop, 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 pop. I had all of these resumes coming in.
It's just the right time, right? So this is good. This is all very good. So we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
All right. So let's head back to 5F. And we have 2 library aid appointments.
So these library aid appointments, we went kind of back and forth a little bit on these. They are positions under the purview of the library trustees. And it was unclear to me whether independently elected boards in the position under those were appointed by the select board or not. The select board does not appoint camp counselors, beach directors, such and such under the Parks Commission. It does not appoint the animal inspector under the Board of Health. But these are regular salaried positions under the general fund, which the select board then recommends a budget for. So to me, it was a little bit more of a gray area than those other couple of positions. So it just felt more appropriate to have select board appoint these positions. So the 2, if select board recalls, in fiscal 25, the board added 4 hours worth of library aid positions to the library personnel budget. And then in 26, added 4 more hours, which the trustees voted to fund through their state aid account. So that added in fiscal 25, those 4 hours were used as kind of floater hours and picked up and added additional staff. What they're doing in fiscal 26 is taking those 4, which were continually funded in 26, and those 4, which were additionally funded in 26, to create a new 8-hour position. And the library will be open on Mondays, which is a big win for the community. So this first position is to add a 8-hour library aid position. And the second is kind of more of a floater. This is a person who doesn't have regularly scheduled hours, but because they're all hourly folks, not salaried, in 8 to 10 to 12-hour positions. Someone goes on vacation, there's a member of staff who goes away for many months at a time, and this person kind of covers it and whatnot. So the second motion is not with regular hours, but the first is with regular 8-hour a week, which is not in the motion. But I thought it was important that the board, because it's your budget and they're funded through your budget largely, to be able to appoint these folks.
Budget neutral?
Yeah, it's already been funded, certainly.
So I'd be looking for a motion to appoint these 2 individuals at that rate.
Make a motion to appoint Carol Sari as a library aide at the rate of $18.20 per hour, and Therese Morris as a library aide at the rate of $18.20 per hour.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right, thank you. Motion passes. Welcome, Therese and Carol. All right, so the final letter in the 5 series tonight is H for Finance Committee appointment.
So some context here. So we had 2 members whose term expired on June 30th. And just like all the other commissions, the board voted to post those vacancies. Those 2 members initially said they were interested and then said they were no longer interested in being appointed. So we have 2 appointments or 2 vacancies. 1 member of the public who was interested in those vacancies and was interviewed by the Finance Committee yesterday and recommended by the Finance Committee yesterday, Mr. Carl Hummel, who come up here and speak with you. After this, we will post at least 1 vacancy to the Finance Committee, and then look for another member of the public to join for that second vacancy.
Carl, welcome.
Hello again.
So tell us why you want to be on the Finance Committee.
I'll give the same spiel I said yesterday. One of the things that's happened in my serving on the Conservation Commission, I've gotten a lot of knowledge about a very small part of Mendon and Mendon government, and a lot of exposure to a whole lot of different properties in town. And now that I'm fully retired, my goal is to reach out and volunteer more and provide support, because my wife says I'm not allowed to stay at home like a hermit. So this is my way of giving back to the community. I love living in a small town. And my particular background, I don't have a strong financial bookkeeping kind of background. What I do have, however, from my long experience in information technology is the last 20 years I was working for financial companies. And in particular, I was on the risk management and root cause analysis side of the business. I started out deploying software into the production environments where the banks and the stock market companies and the other interbank companies, their databases have real money. So there's an awful lot of federal and state regulatory oversight to make sure that nothing goes wrong. When something does go wrong, there's a very well-defined process of, okay, what went wrong? How do we make sure that never happens again? A major catastrophe involving the Federal Reserve tried to send the Federal Bank of New York $1 billion and it failed for half an hour, which is a lot of interest that you're losing. So they're almost always a combination of multiple low probability events. So it takes a lot of personal interviews where people are worried about getting fired or their manager losing their big bonus. It takes a lot of looking through the log files and the documentation and troubleshooting, and then coming up with a report that doesn't offend people, that a whole lot of people can buy off on. So this is why I'm so good at written communications. You've all seen some of the emails that I've been writing for various things. And it also means that I can listen to members of the public, as I've been doing on the CONCOM. They'll talk for 5 minutes or so, and then I say, okay, so your points are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they look at me and say, wow, somebody's actually hearing me. So what I was talking with the FinCom about yesterday is I would be able to perform a similar function for them. For example, one of the things that came up is when Police Chief Kersey is making a presentation during the day to the town staff about his upcoming budget. Well, the other members of the FinCom are working, but I would be able to go sit in on that meeting and then write up a rather factual, here's what I heard, here's the presentation, here's the PDFs and the other supporting documentation, and present that to the other members of the FinCom. The other thing that I would look at is, from my other hat as General Bylaws Review Committee, I'm looking at regulations and bylaws. I understand that Jeremy has this year rolled out the first draft of what our budget review process is going to be. One of the things I'd be able to work with him on and the department heads and the select board is observing where the gaps and the deficiencies are and then saying, okay, how do we improve it and come up with something so that next year it's involved? The final aspect is that the relationship between the FinCom and the select board has changed for the same reason, because you've hired professional staff in the town, the same way that the relationship of the Conservation Commission did. We have now hired a paid professional, and so we get to step back and not be as involved. So there's a transition right now, my understanding from talking with people on the FinCom and also individuals on the select board on what the relationship is. And so there's a need to have a meeting of the minds about what the FinCom is going to be doing in the future, other than just the Finance Committee recommends this, or the Finance Committee doesn't recommend this. How is the Finance Committee going to be able to support the paid town staff? How is the Finance Committee going to be able to support the select board as it moves forward into what I call the 21st century?
So I open up questions to the board.
I mean, interesting. Not a question, Carl, but I would say first, sounds like we need to define roles and responsibilities, because as you describe your role in FinCom, it's going far beyond, I would say, the charter of FinCom in terms of the day-to-day operations. It's almost like a finance department, as I hear you describe sort of the engagement. So
Well,
I'm not saying no. What I'm saying is the starting point, but I am in favor of
Are
appointing.
you saving some of
FinCom.
this for the later?
No, because FinCom's not a committee that we're going to revitalize. The FinCom is.
But I mean, are you considering,
Huh?
are you considering roles
Well, what
just for this specific committee?
No, I'm reacting to what I just heard from a potential member of the FinCom, what FinCom sees their role as, that I
Okay.
don't necessarily agree with. And we just got to straighten that
I
out.
know there's information about FinCom in the bylaws.
Yep.
And so I know you're intimately acquainted
Yep, that's
with that.
my-
And you've probably
That's
read
my
it
other hat.
more recently than I have, but I know when I've read the bylaws, I feel like there were differences between how the FinCom was sort of being used and what's in the bylaws. Does that?
Yes, there is a line in the Mendon bylaws, which is kind of unusual and other towns don't have, that says the FinCom has the ability to request information from any other town department or staff member, and they must respond. There's a thought that at some point we would want to update the bylaws further on down the line when the FinCom, the select board, and the town staff all have a general idea of how those three different groups are going to be working.
Does seem like there's an opportunity to update the bylaws and perhaps update the role of the finance committee at the same time.
I just want to pump brakes.
Right. It's
If
a
we
lot.
want to talk about that, that's fine.
Right.
But requesting information of any town department is absolutely in the purview of the FinCom for the purpose of making a recommendation or not to the finances of the town. Some of the root cause, the engagement, I would probably want to make sure we're not going to interfere with the finance department that's part of the operations to do their job.
I didn't mean I'd be going and doing that. That's just why I'm able to read text and read documents.
I hear you,
analyze
and I
them.
think, like I said, I'm all for, if we're gonna take a vote, I'll make the motion to appoint Carl to FinCom. No issue there, but I do think you speak to, because we heard about this in the last couple cycles where, FinCom members have said, this is what we do, and I would sit here and say, that's what you want to do. I mean, and I think engagement is important, and I think there's a role where we can define roles, responsibilities, and how this is gonna work going forward. I just want to kind of pump the brakes until we sit down and have a meeting of the minds, as you
Yeah,
described,
you have.
I don't know a better break pumper.
If I could just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Going into the discussion. I think to be clear, the most important thing that the FinCom does effectively is to communicate to people at town meeting that they do recommend or don't recommend, because the townspeople don't have a chance to dig into the budget the way the FinCom did. And traditionally, before we hired a professional town administrator, which has been several years now, the FinCom did take the lead at building the budget. And they did the job that the town administrator does. But since we hired a town administrator, the FinCom has provided an advisory vote to give all of the townspeople a heads up and due diligence on. And it's probably a good idea to update that language in the, in the town bylaws, because we've talked about it for a while, but that's, and again, there were some people, and there still are some people who are on the FinCom that were on there before we hired a professional town administrator, and, remember when it wasn't like it is now.
Well,
So,
and I
it's a point one thing.
I agree, and I just want to point out, over the last 2 cycles, we have been modifying the process to more proactively engage with FinCom.
Right.
Google meetings, et cetera.
Right.
So we want to continue that.
Right.
We just want to make sure that, let's have that meeting of the mind sooner before we start this
Right.
year's process. We're all good.
Yeah, I agree.
My input is, I like regulations, I like rules to follow. I'm well aware of the relationship between the FinCom and the select board and what their actual, but any document will not capture the informal, well, here's how things really work in town hall. And one reason why I'm looking to get more exposure from the CONCOM to the FinCom is I will now be getting a better sense of how the community works and how processes work in a more human-oriented rather than you must follow the paperwork trail.
So given that Carl's not being contested, and go ahead.
Oh, I noticed that his name is not listed in the agenda.
So
And so,
when we posted the agenda on Monday, FinCom had yet to meet and consider their appointment.
We need to.
I thought that the candidates needed to be listed for open meeting, law.
Meetings to the 20.
That you're, okay.
Yeah,
I think that's best.
I'm not sure.
I may be more sensitive.
Well,
than
no,
I-
that-
so-
From
Why
the
so?
EA processes, we kind of had that.
Right, FinCom is not
Also,
going
the
to meet
open
between
meeting
now
law
and the 20th.
violation had that.
Almost, Carl.
So the FinCom's not going to meet between now and the 20th. There's no business in front of the FinCom.
Right.
So I'm not super clear on that. So to be clear on that, we can put it on the agenda for the
Okay.
20th.
Okay. I would feel
It's
better.
acceptable. Like you said, there's nothing going on, and
My other comment would be when you start the 45-day clock and whether this meeting can open that or that you want to post on the agenda
are you talking about for the FinCom
for the vacancy.
position? So, like, was that an official? Did they officially say that they did not want to be appointed? And so, okay, so then yes.
Posted for all of, I thought we
Yeah.
had it generally an open posting, even where there were potential reappointments.
We did, and I'm not sure, but I believe we closed that posting because we had 3 people who were interested and then 2 of them
Okay.
withdrew.
So
I see.
we real.
So we have to reopen, right, for now.
I
That's
see.
only, and that isn't a hard and fast rule. It's a policy that's flexible. But I mean, it became open on July 1st, the first day of, so we're.
Oh, right. So technically, all of the positions were open, but if we did close it, we'd have to reopen it regardless. So but that makes sense.
Either way, putting it on the agenda for August 20th meets that.
That one I'll attend remotely.
That's fair. All right, Carl, thank you for your time tonight. As always, thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5D.
Huh?
Look at 5D.
We did not.
No, you're right. We missed, it's the way it's the way I'm reading the red and the black. That's really what it is. It's a color thing.
And also there were people in the
I'm glad it
room.
Yeah.
We prioritized the in first.
Yeah, so jumping up now to 5D, which is Town Forest Committee appointment. This was an open seat, correct?
This has been an open seat. We've had 1 person on the committee. So
So they still have a forum.
John Shushpera has not met with the committee. This committee did not meet in calendar year 4, has not met. So this is part of the revitalization. So this is the person who's expressed interest. I think Brandon might have recruited him.
Yeah, actually, he ran into Bill on the Trail Network and he said, hey, you should join this. And then John talked to me and I said, sure.
So it's a person with a personal interest in a committee that we're trying to get more interest in. So there's not yet a quorum or a 5-person committee. So we're
So we think about revitalization. One of the things, do we need a town forest committee, or does the town forest committee duties be encompassed in another committee? I think when we revitalize, we should be assessing, do we need that specific committee, or
Could that be sort of built into the land use committee?
It just,
Yeah.
it's a question. I have no problem making the appointment. So we don't have a quorum now. They haven't been over a year.
I think a lot of so my understanding is that Bill, the sole member, does a lot of work pro bono and he's up doing trail steward work. And it would be great to have not a single point of failure.
So the objective or the goal. So one of the things with any committee, if we cover about vision, what is their sort of unambiguous or objective, right? What does that committee intend to do?
in the bylaws. I thought it was in the bylaws, but it is not.
But their description.
That's what I was kind of just gonna do. Did you get the website?
There is a town forest.
Right, so the Town Forest Committee overview, of which I am the liaison, I'm reading right now, is the Town Forest Committee was appointed by Mendon Select Board at their August 6, 2012 meeting to manage and care for that portion of the public domain under the jurisdiction of the Mendon Conservation Commission that is known as the Mendon Town Forest. Selectman Tideo and Selectman Goddard made a motion to appoint the Town Forest Committee to manage the care and portion of the public domain under the jurisdiction, et cetera, et cetera. So they were charged with actively supervising any wood harvesting operations, maintaining trails, providing maps, posting rules of use, addressing safety issues, protecting wildlife habitat, applying for grants, protecting historical ruins and cultural areas, and encouraging public use such as walking, horseback riding, skiing, snowshoeing, group outings, and through media promotions and et cetera, it goes on. And so basically a lot, they were given a lot, but it's just been held under, like one person's been doing the work part, but no discussion about the work has been going on, I guess. Why we extended it out of the Conservation Committee was probably because at the time they thought because I know now they're doing a lot of the addressing historical ruins and posting signs and stuff is happening on Concom, but it's also happening on land use. So it's a good question. They've got together long enough to write this very long page.
So we've got someone that's willing to serve to help steward the town forest in whichever. I'm sure that he would be interested in, volunteering in something else. I can't speak for him, but his interest is giving back and helping preserve, maintain the town forest.
So is stewarding the town forest a committee, or is that a function of an existing committee where this person could still volunteer to help steward said forest? Some of the things, Jason, you read off seem like are being done in other places too.
They are.
So does land use and Ann, there are trails.
Oh, Ann's got her hand raised. Ann, go ahead, please.
Hi, I only kind of heard part of this discussion, but I think you were asking why the town forest isn't under the Conservation Commission, maybe?
No, we were just asking the purpose of the Town Forest Committee and whether or not it was reasonable to dissolve it and put its functions into other committees.
I mean, I would talk to the committee members. I think the town forest doesn't like have a conservation restriction. I don't think it's under the Conservation Commission. It's under like a different law. Town forests have like a special different kind of preservation thing. So, but,
Did that say
and-
it did?
I just
Excuse me?
read from the webs. It just said it said that on the website that it was coming from the conservation committee, but I mean, right, I don't know what that is.
yeah, the land use
Yeah.
committee's been working with the town forest committee, like the Mendon Hike Challenge and things like that, and doing the maps and the trails. But I mean, it makes sense to have conservation, be in charge of it. I just don't know if legally they're supposed to have different authority or something.
Yeah,
Isabella,
this is,
did I hear you?
sorry, Isabella's on too. Concom is not responsible for the town forest. The town forest is protected by Article 97, not any conservation restriction. My view of the function of the town forest committee, currently right now, there's a lot of dirt bike activity or mountain biking activities, maybe not dirt bikes, and a lack of signage. And I think I've heard from a couple of people, and I've talked to Anne about this, but people can get lost in the town forest. So I think having a committee that's able to work on signage specifically, maybe revamp some maps, and someone who's able to, if they want to lead guided walks or have some like story maps and more signage for our historic sites. Those would kind of be my thoughts on the town forest committee. I think the land use committee does a lot in acquiring parcels and assisting in that and direction for different properties. You could also consider an open space committee as well that could focus just on open space. But my only consideration for revitalizing these committees is that I think there's a lot of legwork for a volunteer board in the day-to-day that staff should pick up, and maybe you all need to consider what staff member is maybe going to pick up some of these day-to-day or outreach things that a volunteer board shouldn't be responsible for.
So you just heard there from the experts.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's things that need to be done. The question I would have is, what's the best way to get those things done? And I'm okay if you get it, just if you want to keep the town forest, if you don't have a quorum, we haven't had a quorum in quite some time. We've got 2 people that are willing to do some work.
And you mentioned this was 5, but the website says 3.
I thought it was 5.
Okay, so we do have a
It's only one vacancy.
So we had a member so right now we don't have a quorum.
If we had Point John.
We would have a quorum of 2 of our 3 members. Yep.
We used to do that.
Can you be on a committee like that and not live in Mendon?
No,
Or do these all have to be Mendon residents?
they all have to be Mendon residents.
Okay, because the one person who attends all the meetings lives in Millville, and he does most of the work, and I coordinate most of the things that happen in the town forest with him. But it just seems like
Bill?
Trail steward?
Bill Dykey, yeah.
Trail steward.
But it seems like there should be like, even if you have the town forest committee, they should coordinate like with the conservation commission, or land use, just so that somebody knows what's going on. Like we have volunteer land steward program that we set up. And so Isabel and I are kind of working on that. And it just should be a little bit coordinated. So if there's a town forest committee, which would be fine, we should all communicate.
So is Ryan Oliva, is that accurate?
No, it's an expired term. It was not reappointed.
Okay.
It's a vacancy at this point after a year.
Yeah.
So this is where like committee revitalization is really a in-depth topic. It's gonna be multiple.
Sounds like we have to chunk it off.
Yeah, and for the time being, let's point John.
Yeah,
Because we
let's
can
start-
always dissolve
right.
the committee.
We're kind of going down a rabbit hole here. Let's go back to the original item on the agenda, which is to appoint.
I mean, I would suggest it's not a wrap. I'm good. It's not a wrap hole because
I mean, just because we have another agenda item to talk about it. So
Yeah, no.
And I lost the letter I was on. D, there we go. Green, maybe, I don't know. All right, so, so I'd be looking for a motion to appoint, John Sherba to the Town Forest Committee for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Right, motion passes. Let's move on to talk about committee and assessment and revitalization.
Yeah, so I think this point is like what does the board want this process and discussion to look like? How do we want to chunk it off? Do you want to, charge me and other staff members saying, come back with a suggestion? Is there a jumping off point you want us to go from? How do you want this to look? We're obviously not going to get to an answer tonight. We're trying to figure out what this question actually looks like.
The way I would understand it, so I would like to know status of the boards and committees. So how often, when's the last time they met? Current members are how many vacancies? And then if there's boards and committees that haven't met for years, we have to have a real strong discussion of whether or not that they still serve a function. And if they do.
So like last active date,
Mhm.
quorum.
Yeah.
Do you want some metadata about the committees and boards?
And so we can do that through town clerk's office, right? We can spit that out.
I mean, I think it's a very good point. Like, we have a lot of boards and committees. We shouldn't have them just for the sake of having them. They no longer serve a purpose or can be combined. That's great.
Well, how do you want to prioritize the ones that we go through? The dotted line proximity to the select board, the subjective importance to the town?
I mean,
Well, I think any committee that has active members and active meeting is already vital. It's really a matter of the ones that aren't.
Okay, so let's start by least vital.
and I know that there's at least one committee. So the tax aid committee has not been meeting regularly, but they are still, the town accepted the state law, so they should be meeting. And so I think I will see if I can nudge again.
That's the other thing. Some of these committees are mandated, right? And if they're not meeting, and they should be by state law, that's an
Right,
issue.
so that's probably another column.
Right, so they're right. I mean, state law says who should be on the tax aid committee, and there are members, the chair of the Board of Assessors and the treasurer are both in.
Right, so all the ex officio, is that what you say? So all the ex officio members, like whether or not those committees are ex officio committees, like isn't land use pretty much all ex officio? Like,
It's like 3.
is it? So
Yeah.
There's a couple of large members. Right?
Mhm. Yeah, and
that breakdown's helpful to know if it's like,
We don't have many so the land use committee has representatives from other committees, whereas the tax aid committee has the treasurer on it. The
Right.
treasurer is ex
As an
officio, because the
employee,
treasurer
yeah.
is not a resident of town, or is not a member of the board
okay,
in their capacity as a resident of town.
but are they a voting member on that? Is it an ex officio voting or? That knowledge, like I know.
I think historically, yeah. But that's a good question.
What do we want to accomplish by undertaking this as a board? What are our goals for this exercise?
Well, meet legal requirements, I think.
Okay.
For one.
Because the meeting piece, how often do they meet? Do they have people? That just says, here's who's defunct and inactive. I think the second order piece of that is, does each committee have a charter and a clear mandate?
Clear
And then
service and clear system.
what of those
Do they know
do
about it?
they?
Right.
Has it changed? And then, is it up to date? That's a good point.
Right.
That's not what I was gonna say. I think it's a better point of what I was gonna say. And then do they overlap? Because I was thinking town forest committee and something else, right?
I think a great example is like maybe the field drivers or I'm thinking about the right to farm law in the committee that oversees that. in a community that doesn't have farms, that type of a committee wouldn't be required. There's situations here in this town where we had committees that were important, but they're not anymore because they're not applicable.
I would counter that the AgCom is still important.
Well, I mean, just
What's
get
that?
back to the
Example.
Just that.
he wants to.
Oh, I was just saying, I still think.
Oh, I do 100%.
Oh,
I'm not saying it's not. I'm
In a
I'm-
In a different town.
community.
Right, I'm making the point, just making that as an example.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry.
For committees, we want to make sure we're meeting our legal requirements. We want to make sure any committee that is formed has clear mandate, goals, objectives, whatever the select board that created the committee expects of that committee.
Yes.
The reason it was originally instantiated and does that match its current mission?
Well,
And if it's still out
or
there,
what do we want that mission to be
yes,
Well,
going forward?
or usually the reason we have it as a mission is because there was a need. The question is, have the needs changed? So does the mission need to change?
And I feel like this also dovetails with the goal of being in communication with the boards and committees and including them in
Yeah.
meetings. So like,
For sure.
this is good at taking stock, right? It's a bit of an inventory of our boards and committees. So, because I think we haven't necessarily been attending to all of them the same way. I mean, we're all liaisons to different boards and committees, but I think to be a bit more intentional, I know I can be more intentional, at least with the tax aid committee, for example. I have checked in a few times, like, especially about annual report and that sort of thing. But so just speaking for me, I can see something that I can do in this direction.
So two other things. Is it resourced properly? That's the other thing. If we're gonna
It's a what?
resource properly.
Yeah. Do they have?
Because I
They
think,
have what they need.
Yeah,
well, no, I'm also thinking people.
right.
Do we have the same people across multiple committees that is making these executions suboptimal?
Sorry, same, sorry.
But doesn't all this fit into that goal about evaluating getting committees to communicate? And
Well, I think what I'm suggesting is that we have a goal about reviewing and revitalizing committees. So specific to that, regardless if there's overlap other places, what do we want to get out of this? That's where I'm trying to get
So
to.
that was almost exactly my question when we had this agenda item, that's the goal. Like, what does that mean to the board? So as I'm taking notes here, so we've got the metadata, as you said, about meetings, membership, that sort of thing. And then also kind of the mandated, the column on, we've got to have cultural council, we got to have these things. And then how many, I don't know how important this is, but what ex officio status, what are the other members out of community members? And then a charter piece, do they have a charter? Do they know they have a charter? Is the charter up to date? And how does the charter overlap with other pieces? So I think that's the big lift from a staff perspective to meet with committees and make sure it's delineated as to what their charge is. And then do the analysis on.
I think the output from all that would be what Elena was getting at was if we knew all of that information, we could then meet our greater select board goal of better communication and collaboration with these committees, because we would approach the active ones whose missions matched whatever we needed in that moment. So have the output of this should be better collaboration with these committees after all of that is established. That's what I would imagine.
So Jeremy, is your expectation is that you and staff are going to collect this information, or do we have some responsibilities as liaisons to these committees to do some of this work ourselves?
The metadata piece we can do. So that's a town clerk piece, say, hey, spit me out something that says last time they met their members, they're all that. So that piece is, I don't want to say easy, but it's easier. The charter piece, I think Katie and I will do, probably 80% of the list, probably pretty easy about what the charge of each individual community is. We have lots of stuff either on the website or formalized somewhere else. That last 20% is going to probably be us either relying on the liaisons or relying on the chairs to set something. So that the last 20 is going to be tough.
Might I suggest that when you do that initial outreach, you include the liaison so we can kind of collaborate on it?
So speaking of liaisons,
Yeah, because just because we have now doesn't mean that's necessarily what we want.
Before we move on, you know the spreadsheet.
I'm gonna talk about that, but go.
That's one thing, Jeremy, is I'd say is, oh, it's a really good point. I think I just lost it. No, in terms of the priority, I think you can probably take a look at the committees and probably those that where you have the biggest questions. If you look at it, I've never even heard of that. You probably want to start there, whereas community preservation, where there's going to be a submission for a bylaw update. Clearly, that's an active committee.
They understand the charge.
And they're even working towards clarifying within the town bylaw process. I think that filter and look at it and saying, where do we need to start by saying who's engaged and involved every step of the way, and then maybe kind of prioritize that way.
Last thing is, if a committee is inactive, their core function is not getting done. So that function that's not getting done, how does that impact? How does that?
And maybe that committee doesn't need to exist anymore.
Right, exactly.
Because if we're not missing it, or maybe we are missing it, just don't know.
Then we need to, no, we need to.
That's some special.
Yeah, I think either one of those is an option. All right, does anybody have anything else on those goals for Jeremy regarding the boards? So we'll kind of get going on that. And then, all right, so I think on the liaison list, what I would ask is that if there's something that you don't want to do anymore, we remove your name. And then we'll go back around and see if anybody else wants to jump in those spots.
So do we add a fiscal 26 liaison and secondary column? Like columns F and G?
Yeah, I guess.
And then, or do I just update 25 to say delete? And if I delete my name, who do I send it to?
Yeah, add a 26, so we have.
Well, this is just my copy because somebody doesn't like sharing SharePoint links. But if we had a collaborative document, we could do that. We don't have that right now.
Oh,
I'll get that.
Actually,
Somebody
we
could-
can't do that.
well, I mean, could share screen perhaps.
If you want to just jam through it right now, I'm not going to change any of mine. I'm fine.
I'm fine with that.
So
I'm
like,
fine
if you just
with
want to shoot that out real quick. Well, then let's do Mike's. What do you want to change, Mike?
I want, I'd suggest somebody else step up for school, MURSD. I
Okay.
think that's a hugely critical, good experience.
Right, and to be clear, we were both doing MURSD. I was, Mike was doing subcommittees and I was doing the main
Okay.
school committee
I just think
meetings.
subcommittees, it's interesting to get in there and understand their whole process. So if nobody wants to step into it, I guess I can stay there, but I would prefer to pull back there and pull back on the senior senate committee.
Okay. Senior Center Committee. Elena or Mike, is there anything that you want to pull back on?
Nope.
All right. Is there anything that anybody wants to?
CMRPC is the funds, right?
I don't see it on here. It's not technically a board or
but-
commission,
Yeah,
but you're still
definitely.
appointed.
Appointed. I think, yeah.
Is there anything that anybody wants to step into that they're not a part of right now, but they want to be a part of it? They don't want to step on toes.
So I want to talk about expectations of the liaison. Are we, the liaisons can't, I know I have not attended every meeting.
Yeah, I don't think that's the expectation.
And I can't.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think I have the bandwidth for the school. I could step up to the senior center, but I would not be able to go there.
So I'll tell you what my expectation is, and you guys can see if you match this. My expectation of liaison is that you're there to answer questions for the chair, and that you're there to attend if they ask you to attend, because they want to ask you questions in public. Those are the two reasons that I, put more or less effort in, and that's usually up to the chair of that committee and how much they want me involved.
Sure.
So sometimes on the bylaw committee, I'm super involved. Lately, I haven't been. Sometimes on the conservation committee, I visit a lot, but I only talk to the chair offline, or Isabella offline. So it just depends on what they want. But I would say the expectation is if they need you, you should be there. And if they don't need you, then it's up to your personal availability. Is that fair?
Yeah, I know with some committees, I'm there as much as I can be, which is not necessarily every meeting, but, some, you know, library board of trustees. I try to be there every time. And I know usually they have questions for me every meeting, so they don't necessarily know, but like things come up during each meeting. So I think they haven't like expressly said, are you going to be there? But like, I think anyhow, so, but I can check in with them, like as liaison, like, do you want me to be there? Cause
Yeah, it's also good. I know over the last few years that I've been a member of this board, it's been good to be able to ask other members who are liaisons to those committees to either, you know, keep an ear out for a specific thing or give a summary of something that's too complicated because I wasn't there or it's out of my expertise. And so having these liaisons has been helpful to me. So I assume it's helpful to these committees unless Jeremy's getting feedback that it's not. Yeah.
But I think this is a good point, and a little bit ties back to the other, you know, question of, you know, overview, like as liaison, I think, you know, I will task myself with checking in with the chairs and saying, I'm going to be liaison again and check on their views about like, you know, me attending.
Yeah, that's definitely good. Reach out. It's always good.
I think there's a little bit different dynamic with Valley Tech and those other ones because all of those are just within town.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, for sure. All right.
I would like to, I'll take up the recreational field study committee.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We're gonna put a golf course in town.
Frisbee golf.
Good.
So
yeah, pitch and putt were pretty good.
I was thinking about a par 3 the other day. We got all this land. Anyway, I digress.
I see nobody's listed for zoning bylaw review committee, at least in the copy that I'm seeing. Is somebody, you're there, you're on that, okay.
Because of the.
But I was, right, yeah, you.
Yeah, and because you were on the planning board, you did that as well, right?
Okay, good. And you will continue to, is that your expectation?
I think we're up to be reappointed. So.
Yeah, so CMRPC's grant, or the grant that supported CMRPC has expired, so it is now staff work rather than technical assistance work. So I've got to follow up with Dylan next week about what a reappointment and what the future of that looks like, what we should expect for special town meeting, what's going to be ready for then versus do we need more time for annual town meeting? So I've got to follow up.
I know for sure there's a plan for the fall and the spring. So see what that says.
And the economic development committee, that was me in 25 too, so it's blank, but I'm planning on doing that.
Well, all right. Does anybody else have anything they want to chat about on this particular topic? I think that we'll try to, once we get the list back from the town clerk, Jeremy and I, and Katie will try to chunk that out over future agendas. Okay. All right, great. Goal setting, just a quick review.
Yeah, I was gonna say this kind of just melds into the town administrator report. I'll just kind of talk about that. So, so I sent out a memo last week to staff. So to all Mendon email users, which we found out not all Mendon email users were on that list.
I would be honest.
So we have since worked on that. So one of the select board goals was increased communication with departments and boards and commissions. So I thought it was important to push out what the select board's goals were and to say, as we continue to develop goals, we would like to push upwards and hear what department goals are. So I did a brief overview of what fiscal 26 was, or fiscal 25. So fiscal 26, just to recap, the broad goals, technology improvements, which includes formalized procurement of IT services as that contract expires, inventory of all hardware and a multi-year plan for replacement cycle, technology stack optimization, how do or can all of our software services tie into each other, and then comprehensive financial planning, 5-year budget forecast, which includes staffing projections and possible override implications, finalize a plan forward on the senior center debt exclusion, formalized plan on managing yearly costs or replacement of excluded debt, and manage to get debt within inside the existing tax levy. The next point was execute individual and union contracts in alignment with recently completed compensation and classification study. So I'll go into a little bit more of that in the next part where I talk about the town administrator's report. Increase communication from and with the select board, so department head involvement, communications to other boards, and regular updates to and from other boards, and explore holding an annual all board and committee meeting, what that looks like. Creation of a town mission statement, which is going to require broad organization-wide input. So part of this memo's plea was to say to folks, if this touches you and what you do, please reach out to me to help us accomplish these goals, because this can't kind of happen one person wide. And then create a town real estate plan and inventory with a comprehensive view of everything the town owns, how it can be used, and how we can get there. Talked about some other points. I'm not going to go through all of them about what else we touched on, which didn't make its way to the formalized goals, but other stuff that I would like departments to think of. So I had a department head meeting yesterday, and we talked about goals. So we talked about these goals, but we also talked about individual department goals. So one of my goals is to have at least monthly meetings with each individual department head. I feel like I've had very informal touch-ins with, touch base sort of meetings with most department heads, but because the volume of that, then some folks kind of get left out. So I want to formalize that, pushed out what,
Like formalizing one-on-ones with them?
exactly, like first Tuesday I meet with planning, or whatever. So a lot of departments do a good job of performance reviews already. And I'm not looking to change what they do, but not everybody does. And I know I didn't do reviews of department heads in the last year. So before you can do reviews, I want to make sure we do expectation setting. So having those regular meetings, do expectation and goal setting for fiscal 26, then we can revisit that in the at the end of the fiscal year to talk about execution against those goals. Also, the department head meeting, we talked about the compensation classification study. So there's going to be an executive session on the 20th to talk about that. Spent the last couple of days, we'll spend the next couple of days trying to take what that study and that data means in terms of what a union contract execution looks like and what that means for fiscals 27, 28, 29. So I didn't want to kind of muddy the waters on this meeting. I'll send out that report and that data tomorrow, so you have plenty of time to look at that and come up with questions ahead of that session. We also talked about capital. So I've been working on something today. I'll send it out tomorrow for folks to refresh their capital plans in terms of fleet, inventory, multi-phase projects, facilities, which is funding source agnostic, which is something I've been trying to drill into folks. And we reached out to the capital planning committee to get something on the books in the next 2 weeks, and then have an August, September cadence of probably 3 to 4 meetings ahead of a special town meeting for that. On the staffing side, our outreach coordinator at the senior center has announced her retirement. So Janet Huebner, who has served in various capacities, but has been here at least 10 years, I want to say now, and has worn a lot of hats down there, as most small staffs do. So her last day is this week, middle of next week. So we've posted her position, and we'll be recruiting for that. So if you have folks who are interested in the senior services, social services, outreach coordinator sort of work, we're actively recruiting that, and thank Janet for her long service to the town. Went over the select board goals, like I said, in my staff board meeting, and talked about our new website, talked about our 457B incentive that the board included in the fiscal 26 budget. So appreciate that. And then my favorite thing that comes out of those meetings, besides me talking for 15 minutes, is that like folks get to then talk with each other and then say to me, by the way, this is something else I have going on. And so what came from that is we need to add to our announcements. We have Senior Citizen Day on Sunday, September 21st. So we talked about that during when we gave the citation to Tetra before, but I want to make sure we get that and announce that to folks in our upcoming meeting. So Senior Citizen Day on Sunday, September 21st, we have a luncheon. All public's invited. Of course, Rock the Block, we talked about that. The Senior Citizen Work-Off Program, the tax work-off program, it's been a little unclear to me who gets to set all the parameters around either hourly rate, overall budget, individual budget, prioritization of who gets to work. So I've asked the principal assessor and the senior services director to kind of meet, come up and have a presentation to the select board. So in the next couple of meetings, I'm not guaranteeing when, we'll have a presentation on that. Katie's been working on a form. We've got a few instances, both before and after our tenure started, where folks have applied for grants without necessarily the notification I would anticipate. So, you know, an invoice comes in and says, please pay this from a grant. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? And accounting doesn't know. And sometimes we missed reimbursable guidelines. So we're trying to standardize. If you apply for a grant, here's the things you need to do. Here's who you need to tell. If you need, select board has to accept all grants too, has to accept all gifts. Because if there's a, you know, we get a $10,000 grant, have a $20,000 match, we might not want to participate in such a thing. So we're trying to standardize that a little bit. That's great. Now I'm mixing my notes from this meeting with stuff I wanted to talk about. Public safety, grants, rock block. In that same, this is the last point, in that same grants realm, we had an earmark from the state government about a water feasibility study, a $100,000 earmark. That turns out as a pass-through earmark from the federal government, and we've spent against it. We created the account. We said we have a contract from the state government to have that $100,000. We spent it, and the federal government has reneged on their promise to give that money to the state, and we don't have that money right now. So that is a separate fund. It's off the general fund, but if by September 30th, I think, we don't rectify that deficit, we get dinged on free cash. And that will continue to be dinged on that until we either rectify the deficit through our own funding or that funding gets unfrozen. And then it will likely be a fiscal, at this point, likely be a fiscal 28 credit back to free cash. I put those two together because we didn't do anything wrong in that situation. We had a contract with the state, and they got put in a tight spot, and now we're in a tighter spot. That's the only instance of that I know where we're, because we don't have a lot of exposure to direct federal funding, almost no exposure as a legal entity to direct federal funding. We have indirect exposure through MURSD, and then we have this indirect exposure through a state pass-through. So as those kind of come up, I'll keep us abreast.
Have you checked with the state, anybody yet on the state level about the state backfilling that shortage?
So we got the notification like Friday morning, Monday morning, something like that. And I just talked to the treasurer about it yesterday. So I haven't spoken with anyone. It's new ground for both.
The name I'm going to throw out there is Quentin Palfrey.
Yeah, he's the director of federal funds.
Well, his job in the current administration is he's the one that provides state funding for matching federal grants. So his job was to make sure, his mission was to make sure that we don't miss federal money, you know, because of something we did on this. But I'm just thinking he would be somebody whose brain to pick about that.
Yeah, good point.
And you could tell him that Elena and I suggest we call because.
Yeah, I think he kind of told us we should reach out to him.
That's, well, I just remember, because twice we went to 2 years in a row at MMA. We saw him and he just kind of lit up and, you know, kind of, for whatever the reason, he remembers men.
Feels like some matching funds might be available. Federal funds didn't come through.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, hopefully you can.
Because that's a big deal. We're still thinking about that watershed, you know, wanting to grab that area.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to stop our progress on that.
I can't find where in my notes, but we also met with, we have conducted second round interviews and will hopefully be shortly having make an offer to an assistant treasurer collector. Had a good slate of candidates and are now kind of at the last stage and spoiled for choice and having a difficulty between the last couple.
Remind me, is that a full-time or
It's 32
part-time?
hours a week.
32, okay, so full.
Yeah, full-time. And then lastly, I toured the MEC, the Medical Emergency Communication Center, week before last. We're still waiting on what the state 911 grant looks like to merge with SEMREC. They're starting to conduct a study this month, and it's a lot of wait and see. I think I said last time they didn't say no, they're just not right now, and we're kind of shifted out.
You said they're just starting?
They plan to start, so has not been a merger between two state-funded regional systems. So what they are saying is you've already gotten state funding once for this stuff. What do you do with the stuff we've already funded, and then do we want to fund new stuff twice, sort of thing? They just don't know how to do this, which is a little frustrating because we've been in conversation with State 911 for 2 years about this. So it seems a little 11th hour for us, but it's not a no. We're going forward. There's still a subset of us who are trying to go forward with if this falls through, what does the future expansion of the MEC look like? Which we have, I think.
So much economy of scale that you realize with that, you know?
Yeah. So that's what I got.
Thank you.
One quick question. Do you get any feedback from anybody, whether it's in the department heads meetings or just in general for the goals?
I was curious about that too.
I had
The goals.
two folks reach out to me. One said, this is in my realm, love to help out. And somebody else who said, I appreciate the communication, more or less.
Okay, well, that's good. So two
Neutral to
positives,
good
no
start.
negatives, so,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so future agenda items. I just want to mention that your review is due for the town administrator to HR by August 13th. So please get that in as soon as possible. And then the highway road maintenance plan, we talked to John this week and scheduled that for October 1st. So he's going to be ready for that. And then plan of the inventory of land. We had to talk to Dylan and have.
That was the one email I got back that said, this is in my realm.
So yeah, we'll have that. We'll have her come on future agenda and yeah, I guess what was our plan? Oh, right. So the plan for the inventory of land. Yeah, I'm just thinking back. The plan for the inventory was to actually take that large table and say what things were and why we had them and where they might go. That sort of idea. And so if Dylan came, they would be able to maybe put more.
And I mean, I wonder about, so inviting, say, chair of the land use committee.
I see a chair of the land use committee online there that might want to come and visit with us as well. So, all right, and then fee structure and bylaws. So we've been talking about this for a while. We'll try to get this probably up soon. This is probably something we could do next time around, but to talk about how we want to adjust the fees, like at what scale we want to adjust the fees in the bylaw. Because they're woefully out of date, and to give that direction directly to the bylaw committee. So yes,
I brought this up in the department head meeting, and I said to folks, stuff that you have in the bylaws, be head on addressing, but fees that exist in one way or another, whether you're an independent board or whether you have kind of like the building commission that had fees that are set by the select board and not within the bylaws. Let me know when the last time they were reviewed, if you have some sort of literature, community review about them, and some sort of proposal about what that looks like going forward. So I don't know that I'm going to get something super formal from everybody, but I try to get folks thinking about their fees. So when we come to them, they're not.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I have just some feedback from the zoning bylaw review committee. So one of the things that was updated was the sign bylaw, and that is a very similar situation where there's a very antiquated fine for violating the sign bylaw. And the discussion was that it would take the fee out of the bylaw, basically, and point it back to this document that is yet to be created. So that language is in there. So
okay,
we need to make sure
to be ratified in fall.
In the fall, if we're ready. So maybe work with Dylan and make sure that language exists in this fee structure as well. If it's
I just saw with a recent email that I think we all saw about property misuse so for a particular purpose. And just to revisit exactly what kind of teeth do we have if the building inspector, who's the enforcement officer, comes out and sees that there's a non-conforming use, you know, is there somewhere we can actually set a fee as a fine, like a daily fine, to try to encourage people?
Is that across all of our fees, or are you just specifically building? Or?
Well, specifically, any situation where, you know, it's one thing to charge a fee for somebody to do something, but to use a fine to encourage compliance, you know?
Okay.
If somebody puts a sign up, it's objectionable. There's nothing to really deter them from.
Right.
That might not be a good example, but makes the point.
All right. I just lost my agenda. Yeah, we're gonna go to the thing I actually have to read and I close the whole. There we go.
It's not actually on the agenda, so
All right. So our next meeting is on August 20th at 6:30 p.m. here, and we are going to move now into executive session, and I'm waiting for the rest of the motion here, and we will not reconvene in open session. So I move to enter executive session pursuant to section NGL 30A, section 21A, reason number 6, where open session would negatively impact the public body's negotiating position for the Trask Light Estate. The board will not reconvene in an open session solely for the purpose of adjourning. Discussion? All those in favor?
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Cooter, aye.
Chanel.
Lucas, aye.
Morale, aye.
All right, so motion passes. We will be moving into executive session and we will not be back. So have a great night. What will happen next for those joining us in executive session is that we will start a room and drag you in there. Well, and pleasantly move you over to the new room.
However you need to get me there is perfectly
All
fine.
people think that being dragged is pleasant.
Yes, sorry. Have a great night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Aye.